Prolonged drought, intense wildfires, floods that threaten lives and livelihoods. We're all impacted by climate change, but perhaps none more so than America's farmers, ranchers, and forest landowners.
Since the turn of the century, we have had 17 of the hottest years on record.
These changes are having impacts on our forests, they're having impacts on our communities.
Cause flooding of roads, additional road damage, and even home damage.
U.S. farmers are looking at opportunities to conserve water. So many times we think about climate change as being something that's in the future. It's now.
It's true that agricultural production is a source of greenhouse gas emissions. But climate-smart agriculture has an incredible potential to reduce emissions, sequester carbon, and help deliver lasting solutions to the climate crisis. America's producers are already leading the way. In recent years, carbon stored in cultivated cropland soils increased by more than 8.8 million tons annually, thanks to their voluntary conservation efforts. The next decade is critical to the fight against climate change, creating a once-in-a-generation urgency for climate action right now. Our farmers, ranchers, and forest landowners are ready, and at the U.S. Department of Agriculture, we're here to support every step of the way. The conservation programs made possible by the Farm Bill and supercharged by the Inflation Reduction Act enable USDA to deliver unprecedented support to producers who want to implement climate-smart practices like no-till, cover crops, prescribed grazing, and silvopasture. This investment, along with technical assistance from USDA and partners on the ground, empowers farmers to strengthen their operations' resilience to climate-related disaster events, while leveraging their land's potential to sequester and store carbon. USDA is also driving climate-smart innovation and expanding markets for American producers with the new Partnerships for Climate-Smart Commodities effort, bringing together a broad set of stakeholders to forge agriculture's path forward with climate-smart markets. These partners are as dedicated as they are diverse, from producer groups to NGOs, from corporations to universities, bringing together local, state, and tribal governments. They all share a goal: to expand markets for U.S. climate-smart commodities. Their actions will increase the competitive advantage of U.S. agriculture, build wealth that stays in rural communities, support a diverse range of both producers and agriculture, and empower consumers to make decisions that are informed by climate considerations and backed by purchasing power. Farmers, ranchers, and forest landowners are the backbone of America. They are stewards of the land. They feed and clothe the world sustainably and affordably. And though climate change is making their jobs harder than ever, the Biden-Harris administration is investing in innovative, lasting efforts to strengthen our working lands, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, sequester carbon, and lead the world in delivering voluntary, incentive-based, market-driven climate solutions.
Good morning. I'm Secretary Tom Vilsack, and today marks an historic opportunity for America's farmers, ranchers, producers, and forested landowners as the United States Department of Agriculture launches Partnerships for Climate-Smart Commodities. Our farmers, ranchers, producers, and forest landowners know all too well the challenge and the destructive nature of a changing climate that has brought unprecedented droughts, floods, fires, and storms to every corner of our country. As stewards of our land and water resources, they feel a special duty and responsibility to lead the effort to mitigate the consequences of a changing climate and to adapt so that we can continue to sustainably produce enough bounty to keep America a food secure nation and to continue contributing to global food security. With the right approach and tools, they know America's farms, fields, and forests can be and ought to be an integral part of the climate solution. At President Biden's direction, USDA began looking for ways to help American agriculture accelerate the development of climate-smart commodities. We understood, as the President did, that consumers here and around the world would be increasingly demanding to know the food they were buying and the wood they were using were sustainably produced. In designing the right approach, we asked farmers, ranchers, producers, and forested landowners how we should and could be most helpful. Their message was quite clear. Trust us, they said. Develop an approach that was voluntary and market-driven. Provide incentives to finance pilot projects which will aggregate numbers of farmers. Offer to all commodities in all regions of the country and for all sizes of operations. Don't penalize the early adopters and finance it through the Commodity Credit Corporation. We agreed and announced initially a $1 billion commitment from CCC to advance pilots that would require the reporting and verification of results and would put a premium on market development and partnerships. We wanted a broad range of applicants, so we gave them a choice. You could submit an application for a large grant, one spanning up to 5 years, requesting anywhere from $5 million to as much as $100 million. Or you could submit an application requesting a smaller grant of $250,000 to $5 million. We hoped that we'd get enough qualified applicants to take full advantage of the entire $1 billion. We were overwhelmed by the response. By the time the application deadlines expired, we had over 1,000 applications requesting nearly $20 billion in requests. A dedicated group of 70 experts from a variety of disciplines within USDA then began the process of ranking those applications. They considered a variety of factors: the amount of leveraged financing a profit could attract, the inclusion of underserved producers as participants, the novel way of reporting, measuring, verifying greenhouse gas and carbon sequestration impacts, the expected results from a project, or the unique partnerships. These were among some of the factors considered. As they continued their evaluation, it became very clear that $1 billion would not be nearly enough to support the many good proposals that we had before us. And after being assured that we had sufficient resources within the Commodity Credit Corporation to satisfy our Farm Bill program responsibilities, and making sure that we had additional significant reserves that would be available for any other unforeseen consequence, I authorized an additional $2.5 billion to be made available on top of the initial $1 billion commitment, for a total of $3.5 billion, which brings us to the announcement today. One that is focused on selection from the 450 applicants who provided an application under our large grant portion of the partnership effort. Today, I'm really excited to announce the awarding of 70 projects in the Partnerships for Climate-Smart Commodities initiative. The 70 projects promote the development and marketing of climate-smart commodities. At its core, this effort is about commodities with higher value, sustainably produced, and linked to the markets demanding and needing such commodities. Funds provided by USDA under these projects will serve 3 basic purposes. They'll support the technical assistance and financial assistance necessary to accelerate the implementation of climate-smart agricultural practices on our farms, fields, and forests. They'll provide resources for the innovative pilots and cost-effective methods that will quantify, monitor, verify, and report the greenhouse gas benefits from projects. and they'll help to develop and expand the markets for these climate-smart commodities. Of the 70 proposals, a wide diversity. 5 involve timber and forests. 13 involve livestock, including beef, bison, and others. 12 corn and soybean projects, 6 cotton, peanuts, and nut projects, 9 dairy projects, 13 projects involving fruits, vegetables, and specialty crops, 3 involving hay, grasses, and energy crops, 2 hemp projects, 4 rice projects, and 3 wheat and other grain projects. These projects will involve over 50,000 farms, covering at least 20 million acres. From every state in the country will participate, including Puerto Rico, with 1 or more projects working in farms, fields, and forests. More than 50 land-grant universities, historic Black colleges and universities, Hispanic serving institutions, tribal colleges, and other minority serving institutions will be partners, along with major commodity groups and farm groups, local and state governments, major food processing companies, and major food brands and retailers. Of the over $3 billion now available, up to $2.8 billion is committed today to these projects, and that's going to leverage an additional $1.4 billion in matching funds. During the life of these projects, we're hopeful of recording more than 50 million metric tons of CO2 equivalent reductions and greenhouse gas reductions and carbon sequestration benefits. That's equal to about 10 million cars being taken off the road. As these projects are getting launched, our team of experts will then begin ranking the 600 applications in the smaller grant program, where awards will be made later this year. Throughout this week, we're going to spotlight a range of projects that are being awarded today. Projects that create market incentives for sustainable aviation fuel from climate-smart commodities. Ones that develop supply chains that support better bottom lines for specialty crop producers. Projects that generates climate-smart dairy products that connect to consumer-facing brands, or build climate-smart clothing labels through sustainable cotton. These projects will also touch a diverse set of commodities and partners. For example, a climate-smart bison project involves tribal lands. There's a climate-smart plant-based rubber project included in the projects being awarded today. And also a climate-smart coffee product being produced in Puerto Rico. These projects also include a wide range of climate-smart practices. Practices that involve reduced methane emissions, like manure management practices, alternative wetting and drying of rice, or efficient enhanced fertilizers. Partnership projects will also test innovative approaches to measuring and monitoring the climate benefits of these practices. We'll learn more about these new measurement technologies, leveraging satellite data and developing new data collection systems. And we hope that scaling estimation efforts will provide credible opportunities in the future for greenhouse gas benefits at low cost. Let me take a few minutes to give you some details about some of the projects being announced today. Like the one led by Farm Journal in partnership with Tuskegee University and a broad array of other partners, including underserved producers. This collaboration offers financial incentives and technical assistance to producers in over 30 states to enable them to access broader climate-smart commodity markets. Another one of our projects is with the Colorado Department of Agriculture. They're going to focus on beef and corn and grains to expand their STAR Plus program, which is designed to develop a climate-smart rating system so producers can earn more from products grown with healthy soil practices with a focus on carbon and water retention. They'll be worked with the Nature Conservancy spanning across 6 states, designed to support agroforestry practices in the production of nuts, berries, beef, and wood products. They'll work directly with manufacturers and retailers to connect potential buyers with these producers. I'm here at Penn State University, and we're partnering with Penn State to expand climate-smart markets and work with dairy producers here in the state of Pennsylvania. An overarching goal in this partnership is establishing a successful and profitable partnership between diverse producers, including underserved producers, and consumers, adopting climate-smart practices leading to a reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. I want to take this opportunity to thank the dedicated men and women who worked at USDA so hard to make this exciting day possible. The folks like Katrina Hansen, Bill Hohenstein, Robert Bonney, and many, many others who helped to design and will oversee the implementation of this incredible partnership. As we learn more from each of these pilots, we can use the resources at USDA, including the historic investments that will be made under the Inflation Reduction Act, to support the development and expansion of climate-smart commodities, to serve the needs of markets here and abroad, and to lead to better bottom lines for our farmers, ranchers, and producers, as well as more jobs in rural America and a healthier planet. With the launching of the Partnerships for Climate-Smart Commodities, America's ranchers, farmers, producers, and forested landowners will identify the best practices that can be shared across the globe, enabling more producers to embrace them. America can then rightfully claim international leadership in climate-smart practices, ultimately leading to a net zero carbon future for American agriculture. We expect to learn a great deal over the next few years, and we intend to share what we learn. We'll share what works and what doesn't. We'll bring awardees together so they can learn from each other, and we'll report back to the American public what we're learning. America's farmers, ranchers, producers, and forested landowners have never shied away from tackling big challenges. I know they are proud of what they do every single day and what they contribute to our great nation. And I know that they're also anxious to pass on the farm, the field, and the forest in better shape to the next generation. I know they feel the same way about our great nation. Today is a bright new day for our farmers, ranchers, and forested landowners. God bless them, and God bless our great nation. Thank you.